Hello and welcome back to another reaction. In this occasion, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Yeah, it's been such a long time since I record one of these. I've been kind of busy and I decided to leave on the side Fullmetal Alchemist. It's not really for a lack of interest, it's for a lack of time. But yes, last time we saw obviously the introduction of a couple of important characters. Well, actually were more than a couple. But still, those are important characters from what I can remember. I don't know if this is someone I kind of saw in the background one day, or if it's part of the original series, so I am not entirely sure of anything up to this point. I think up to this point is when the series is taking the turn to the completely unknown for me. So yes, unless I remember clearly something else, unless I saw it on the screen and say, oh yes, this is what I saw, this is what I remember. Other than that, I have no clue. I don't remember anything in a clear memory. I don't remember anything that happened in the previous series, in the Fullmetal Alchemist series. So from now on, I think I'm gonna start to treat it more like a completely blind reaction, because again, I don't remember a lot of things that happened after this, or even in this last episode, in episode 15. So yes, let's just cut all of these because I'm so eager, because probably finally everything is new. So yeah, let's just cut all of these and watch the episode, shall we? Okay, I'm back. I just watched a second time the 16th episode of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The episode started pretty slow, genuinely slow. It didn't have much to go around and to have a lot of action scenes or a lot of problems. It was kind of a setup for the rest of the episode, because yes, we mentioned Hughes, rest in peace. They mentioned a lot of stuff that was kind of a setup of what was going to happen once they arrive in Central City. Well, they are now in Central City, obviously. But again, it was a very, very slow beginning. And everything that happens in this episode has a reason to happen. It's not just filler, it's not just something to fill up time. Well, yeah, that's the definition of filler, obviously. But there is always something that is going to be a setup for something else. The disappearance of Shin, if I'm not remember, or Links? Shin, I think it's Shin. Which of course later on we find out that he fainted on the city. I don't know if it's common for him, if it's a sickness or a condition, or it's just because he's hungry. I am betting on a condition, and again, this is new information for me. I do not remember anything related to him. But of course there is something else. We still kind of see that he is strong. He is not the weak ass idiot that we thought before. Somebody find him and they arrest him because he doesn't have a paper. He doesn't have paper of immigration. Anyway, we discovered actually that the butcher, well, the armor that was the butcher, is still alive, if you can call that alive. Well, yes, technically he's alive because Alphonse is technically alive, and they have in a very similar situation. So yes, we discovered that Mustang is actually keeping him alive. Why is that? Because my guess, he needs information about the Philosopher's Stone, or perhaps even Hughes, or the ones that are behind the death of Hughes. So yes, and this is when the silly dialogue, even the silly dialogue that is considered just comic relief, is actually relevant. Even that small dialogue, that I have a girlfriend, when Jen said this, said I have a girlfriend. And the first time I watched this episode, well, today obviously, it's just been dismissed. Oh yes, this guy is just getting a girlfriend and nothing else is happening, and nothing of relevance is actually happening. Because again, it's treated as a joke, because in this moment it was a joke. After the terrible news that was delivered to the other guy that still needs to be locked out with this other murderer that doesn't need to sleep, which, yeah, it's very dangerous. We received this ridiculous news that has nothing to do with the situation of this other dude. And again, you dismiss that dialogue, said, oh yes, just silly stuff, comic relief, just to calm yourself down. But, and yes, since the episode starts to progress, and you kind of ignore that information because, again, in that moment it's completely irrelevant, and then we return to our main characters, Winry, Alphonse, and Ed. And they took their separate ways. In a sense, they are all looking for Hughes. Ed and Al to give information about what they discover, and Winry just to be with him and his family. And she is proud because she is trying to make apple pies, and she is very proud of the fact that she actually managed to do an apple pie edible. So yes, everybody is looking for Hughes in this moment. And then, of course, we follow the Elric brothers, and they are, well, passing through the place in which Hughes died. And then, of course, the episode continues with Sheska, and she's trying to hide what Mustang really is doing. And this is the moment in which we saw that actually the homunculus have a lot of reach, because they can disguise as whatever they want. They have a lot of power within the military, and they have power, physical power, and even, I don't know if it's correct to call it magical or something else. Or alchemical power, perhaps, is the more accurate description of these powers. And this is when we start to see that, yes, all the government is in the claws of the homunculus, and actually in the claws of Father. Because yes, all the homunculus serve him, as we saw in previous episodes. Again, Mustang is still kind of down for the death of his friend, and we receive certain degree of advice for Mustang, that he should not get involved, or he should not try to reach beyond his own reach. And this is when we find out that actually the Elric brothers are back, and they found Mustang. Well, actually they found Hawkeye, but anyway. And then Mustang doesn't have the guts to tell them that actually Hughes is dead, because according to him, it's not information that is needed by them. So yes, it is an awful moment, because you as an audience know, you as an audience suffer for the death of Hughes, but the Elric brothers have no idea. So yes, this is a fascinating moment in which we kind of see the... Well, Mustang consider him soft because he doesn't want to make them suffer, but Hawkeye consider it kind of cruel, because yeah, perhaps the longer he waits, the more are going to suffer the Elric brothers. And my guess, she is not exactly happy with Mustang, because my guess is kind of trying to protect himself under the pretense that he's trying to protect the Elric brothers. Perhaps unconsciously that is what he's doing. Consciously he believes that he's protecting the Elric brothers, but unconsciously he's trying not to suffer, not to see them suffer, and suffer himself once he told them. Unfortunately, somebody else beat him to the punch. And I don't remember her position, is Ross, but I don't remember, it's Lieutenant? It's not Corporal, yeah, it's Lieutenant Ross, yes. I just read it here. Lieutenant Ross, and at first it's just kind of confusing that, oh, they are speaking about as if he were outside, he was still alive just in the country, but of course the lieutenant is speaking like he's dead. And yes, at the beginning the messages kind of coincide, because there is not a lot of information exchanged in this moment, but the more they speak, the more figure out that actually the truth is Hughes is dead. And this is when they figured that out. the truth. And this is when they try to catch up with Winry, because Winry is still not in the known, but they still feel guilty for what happened to Hughes, because according to even Ed, he believes this is his fault. He believes that he dragged him down to this point thanks to his investigation of Laboratory 5 and the Philosopher's Stone. And this is when the feelings kind of flew out. And it's just so hard to see the hopeful little girl. Once Winry knocks on her door, the hopeful little girl that believes his dad is back, that she's going to see him again. And it's heartbreaking. This little kid doesn't understand, obviously, the concept of death. She is too young. And it's portrayed in a very realistic way, because she still believes that his dad is outside. Perhaps they just buried because she doesn't understand why they buried his dad. Because yeah, he has a lot of work, she needs to work. And after work, he needs to play with her. And just thinking about it is just remembering the heartbreaking moment of the episode in which Hughes died. It is a hard anime to watch, this one. This is still unclear, at least they don't say it out loud. But once the Elric brother arrive to the house, everything breaks. That they are asking for forgiveness because they believe they drag him down to the level. But Gracia is kind enough to say, don't give up. Because if you give up, the death of my husband is going to be in vain. Don't give up, continue. Of course, she's been strong for Ed, for Al, for Winry. She's been strong because she understands that they are kids. Even if they are, well, one of them is an estate alchemist, she still sees them as kids, teenagers, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. And she's trying to protect them. Of course, once they are outside, once she believes they no longer see her, that's when she breaks and she cries. Again, this is such a roller coaster of emotions. And yes, we saw how they kind of behave after the tragedy, after they are alone. Winry in her own room, just, my guess is crying out, or just been thinking. Alphonse, I don't know if he is capable of crying. Ed trying to think of something else, eating. I don't think enjoying it, just eating because he needs to. And in the end, in the moment, of course, Ed is trying to reach out to Winry in this kind of tragic moment for such a simple thing as an apple pie. Winry was perfecting the recipe, her own recipe. She wanted to make something good for Hughes because she wants to be. She wants to repay all the things that he has done for her and for for her, for Hal, and for Ed. She understood. Oh, I don't think mine is as good as his wife. But that is the point in which Winry breaks in front of Ed. That she wanted for him to test the flavor of the apple pie. Again, such a simple dialogue, such a simple moment that we have here. But it carries such a heavy amount of emotions. It is unbelievably heavy just to think about that moment. And then, of course, we return to the homunculus. And this is when the dialogue or the comedic dialogue in the beginning start to take a different meaning. At first, the first time they saw boyfriend or they said boyfriend, I said, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, it's just another idiot. I never connected, at least not immediately, I did not connect it immediately. But after they say that they're going to put another plan in motion, I have an idea, but I don't want to say this one because, again, might be spoilers. Again, perhaps unconsciously I'm blocking something else. Then, of course, after the plan and after this dramatic music, and after Lieutenant Ross is kind of being arrested because, yes, technically, her image was the one who killed Hughes. Thanks to the power of envy, she has been investigated, obviously. But all the drama that is going on, and yes, I highly doubt Mustang believes that she is guilty, but of course, he wants to be sure. After all of this, thanks to the dramatic music and thanks that we saw Jean, because it was just a joke, we wouldn't have seen it in the end. We start to figure out, oh my god, Lost just went after Jean, one of the close circle of Mustang, because they want to look out. They want to be informed of every movement that Mustang has been doing. And what a better way to be treated as a normal person, in this case, this guy who is desperate for love, because yeah, Jean is kind of desperate for love. And yes, Lost is incredibly hot. But in this moment, this is when you figure out the reach of the homunculus. Homunculi? I don't know how to pronounce it in public. Plural. I love how Fullmetal Alchemist is capable of taking something as simple as a joke and making it part of the main story. That is an amazing accomplishment. Man, this is why it's considered one of the best animes of all time. Jesus. Man, this is amazingly well done, amazingly well paced. Even though you start kind of slow, everything in the beginning is a setup for what is going to happen in the second half of the episode. It's brilliantly done. It's genuinely brilliant. I love this anime. It's hard to watch because it makes you feel bad for the deaths of characters, for the tragedy that is surrounding these characters. Because everything has a consequences. It's not just he died and that's it. We are not going to speak much about it. We are not going to do much about it. We are not going to see the consequences in the real world. No, we're going to see consequences after episodes and episodes of that tragedy. They carry everything. So yes, you need to start, or at least I need to start to pay more attention to what is going on in the background with this anime. Jesus. Oh boy. And I was thinking something else, a little comparison to what is going on here. Saint Seiya is an anime, one of my favorite animes, the original one. I think it was in the 90s, or at least I watched it in the 90s. And I don't know if you remember when the first Silver Knight appeared and it was killed by Pegasus. Every single other Silver Knight speak about him like he was the most important one, or everybody was attached to him, or well, anyway, I was going to say something awful. Anyway, yeah. That is a very poor way to portray the death of somebody. Honestly, if that was an anime that came out during the peak of the internet, you could see memes after memes after memes of that stupid death that everybody said, oh, I'm going to Vengeance Misty, I think it was. The first Silver Knight. and everybody was doing that. But honestly, that's the only thing you kind of see of a portrait of a dead. It's not well carried on during the entirety of the anime. I don't know if the manga, honestly, I never read it. It's never well portrayed in that moment. Never. This is a great example of how you should portray the death of one of your characters. And the consequences of that. Anyway, I think I exhausted the topic of this episode. A fascinating one. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, the only thing I have to say is thank you for your attention and see you in the next one. Bye.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, give it a like so the algorithm from YouTube will help me out. And check my other videos, share them, and also why not subscribe to my channel and join this community. And as always, I want to thank you for your attention, your likes, and even your dislikes, your comments, which is something I always look forward to read. And yeah, once more, thanks and see you on the next one.